Hey there, Maria here from Kindred Root, talking about what shows up. I talk about paying attention to what shows up a lot in my classes and with individuals that I meet with, and they always ask me, Maria, what do you mean by paying attention to what shows up? Well, in my case, it's primarily to do with plants, but it applies to people and animals as well. It's just becoming mindful and aware of what is showing up in your life, something that maybe wasn't there before, or maybe seeing something in a new light. Okay, so a lot of us now in this world have liver issues, right? We live in a very toxic world, a lot of chemicals, a lot of pollution. We don't always eat the best, and our livers are working really, really hard. So we start having some symptoms. We're not feeling really great. And in the natural community anyway, our first resource to go to is usually the acupuncturist. And we go and get acupuncture and we get Chinese herbs, and that's all really, really awesome. It's great. I'm not criticizing that at all. What I just wanted to point out was that, we don't need to import herbs from China. We live in North America, well, at least I do, and right now it's spring. It's beautiful spring day, and if I look outside my window, if I look around me, I see dandelions. Dandelions are showing up for all of us in a big way, and that's because they are a wonderful food and they are very beneficial to our liver. So that's one way that we can pay attention to what shows up, just by looking around us, saying, okay, what's here? What do I have an abundance of? What's going crazy in my yard? Is it dandelions? Is it chickweed? Is it creeping Charlie? Is it stinging nettles? What is it? What do I have an overabundance of? Or what am I looking at like it's the bane of my existence and I just want to rip it out and want it to go away because I just hate it? Take a big step back, hold a bigger container, and ask yourself, is this happening to me, or is this happening for me? And when we shift that mindset from maybe this is happening for me and not to hurt me and not to be the bane of my existence, but it's actually happening for my benefit, we can take a step back and we can say, let me go look up dandelions. Let me go, sit with the creeping Charlie and listen to what its message is. Let me, look at some videos on stinging nettles and how other people use them. Let me talk to my local herbalist and see what he or she has to say about chickweed. And what you might find is that the medicine that plant holds is exactly what you need in that moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is. In 2012, Hypericum showed up for me in a big way, St. John's wort. She's specific for the nervous system. She's very neuroprotective, and I didn't plant her. I was out walking in my yard with my dogs, and all of a sudden she was there. It was a summer solstice. It was a beautiful day, and she was just in full bloom over a back part section of my yard. And I was so excited to see her. It was just so beautiful, and it was such a happy surprise. And so I mindfully gathered some flowers to make oil with, because at that time I was primarily making salves and balms and oils and stuff. I wasn't doing a lot with tinctures, but the voice in my head whispered and said, maybe you should just make just a little bit of tincture, just like a jelly jar. It doesn't have to be a lot, just make a little. But I didn't listen to the voice because I wasn't using tinctures at that time, and I didn't want to be disrespectful to the plant and harvest to make a medicine that was just going to go to waste, that I wasn't going to use. So I didn't do it. And 6 weeks to the day from that summer solstice when I discovered that plant, I came down with Lyme disease. Now, Hypericum is not a specific for Lyme in that it's not antibacterial or antibiotic, and it's not going to take the place of more potent herbs to really combat that very intense and noxious Lyme bacteria. But it is neuroprotective, and those spirochetes love to attack the nervous system and attach to that myelin sheath, and that's where they do a lot of their damage. And so taking St. John's wort along with everything else is a really, really smart idea. And had I listened, it would have been there for me. That plant, St. John's wort, she showed up for me. It was 6 weeks before I knew I was going to need her, though. So that's why we really need to pay attention. We really need to listen to our higher self and to our hearts, and that little intuitive voice that whispers in our ear that we disregard way too often. We need to listen. I would have had that medicine. Now, yeah, I could go to the store and buy some that somebody else made, and it was fine, and it was, you know, it worked. But how much more powerful would it have been for me had I used the plant that showed up for me personally, because she knew I was going to need her? It would have been a lot more powerful. So shifting our mindsets from this is happening to me to this is happening for me can really help us to embrace the bigger picture and to see medicine and healing that's showing up for us right in our own backyards. And a lot of times they are things that, you know, we are pushing against, that we're trying to control, that we're trying to eradicate, you know, because it's a reflection of parts of ourselves that we're not willing to see or deal with, or things that we don't want to own, or things that we don't want to know. We don't want to know that we need medicine or that we need healing. We don't want to know that because that makes us feel vulnerable. And that's okay. It's okay to feel vulnerable. Pay attention to what shows up. And the healing is just so beautiful on so many levels. Thanks so much for listening. See you at kindredroot.com and on Facebook, Kindred Root and Earth Deva Oracle. Bye for now.